It's goddamn Christmas. Thanks for listening, everybody. This is Nerdy 430, the podcast where comedian Tim Keck and I talk about nerdy-ish things for 30-ish minutes. I'm Kevin Bauer, and today we are rounding out our Christmas action coverage with one that you don't hear mentioned a lot, but one that I think definitely earns its spot in the pantheon. It's Lethal Weapon. And to do so, we're talking to our own loose cannon LA cop buddy. You know him, you love him. It's Mike Breen. Breen, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, Breen. I'm so excited to hear your takes on this movie. It's one of my favorites, if not my favorite movie ever. It's definitely a Christmas movie. Very clearly a Christmas movie, up there with The Grinch and that one where the guy talks about, tying a rope around the moon and pulling it down for that woman. You know, what is it? It's a Wonderful Life. I don't know. We could have talked about that, but no, I want some action. I want some cops. I want some buddies. And it's just a good time, Breen, and I hope you're on board. I know you hated this movie. I know you hated it, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope some part of you in your Grinch too small heart grew a little and accepted Lethal Weapon into it.
This is my first time seeing it. I think you guys know that.
Can't believe that.
And overall, I think I give it a thumbs up.
Whoa! Yeah. It's a Christmas miracle.
I thought it was pretty good.
Wow!
I liked it. You guys act so surprised.
Oh my god! Yeah, this is a twist. What a twist! Not since Mayor of Easttown did you enjoy something we made you watch.
No, you guys get upset because you'll watch something awful, just truly terrible. I won't name names. I'm not going to call anybody out, and I'll say that was unwatchable, and you guys will say that was the most important show in years. And I'm talking about.
It was
I'm
monumental.
talking about a specific Avengers TV show that I got really upset about, and you guys really seem to love. I'm not going to name names.
Oh my God! If it's Hawkeye, you're going to break my heart.
That could be any.
I'm not going to name names. I'm too close with those
Hawkeye's
people.
Great.
I'm too close with those people. I can't hurt them like that.
You're in the industry. You can't be offending these people. Kevin, you agreed to do Lethal Weapon. Mm-hmm. What is your Lethal Weapon experience? Did you like this movie? How many times have you seen it? Give me the rundown, baby.
You know what? This is only the second time ever that I've seen Lethal Weapon. I watched it for the first time back in April. It's a wild ride. I think it would be, I don't want to offend you too much because I know that it is your favorite movie. I think it would be perfectly valid if someone came away from this movie going, I don't know, not for me. Because I don't think it necessarily holds up to the degree that Die Hard does. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that hasn't aged as well. Like the level of machismo and toxic masculinity in this movie is preposterous. But I think for the time frame when it came out in the 80s, if anything, it would have been considered like pretty sensitive and thoughtful as action movies go because of the existence of Murtaugh. But like at the end of the day, Mel Gibson's performance as Riggs is so batshit insane that I think it's worth the watch.
It's awesome. It is, I think, the only reason to come back and never watch this movie again. That character is so insane. And if somebody like pitched that idea of, oh, he's a cop, he's like always trying to kill himself as his kind of thing, you'd be like, well, that's not a movie. That's not a personality. It's like, no, he's always trying to kill himself. And it's what makes him so badass. It's incredible. Yeah, I was really happy with it.
To the toxic masculinity point, the way men communicate in this movie is how men should communicate with each other. This is two bros, two guys hashing it out, having a good time. I mean, Martin Riggs is such a good character. He's my ideal protagonist. He is so sad and so depressed, but he's like, first off, he's like a golden retriever boy. He like watches cartoons. He eats cereal. He has a dog. He eats dog biscuits. He's just a weirdo. And then he's also a trained sniper and has like straight up been killing people in the war, and then comes back as a detective and is like they're making jokes. Like he's the lethal weapon in this movie, right? On top of that, his wife died and he's suicidal. And it's so heartbreaking, I feel like, to see him go through this, especially when like, I don't know, in future movies, that's still something that's prevalent, but you definitely see more of his golden retriever goofy side. And Danny Glover's character, Roger Murtaugh, bringing him in as the family man. Like, these guys need each other, you know, on like, Breen, you're jumping to get in here.
Oh, just on that part of the family man. He's such a family man. His whole family is in the bathroom with him when he's in the tub. That man was naked in the tub, and they brought a cake into the tub. They made him blow on. I think they brought a cake in, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they brought it right in.
It's definitely a running gag in the series too. They always come in with the bathroom. Yeah.
I think he wasn't too bothered by it either. You're just kind of like, yep, this is what my family does. They interrupt me in the tub at 8 a.m.
It's weird. And there's no bubbles in that tub.
There's no bubbles. No. And he has a really intimate conversation with his eldest daughter while she's just at his tub side.
Okay. I did want to talk about this. The movie overall has like what feels like a pretty like loving depiction of a family. Like overall, I really like the way that their family is portrayed in this movie. The dinner scene, very endearing, but the saxophone cues at the beginning of the movie and the fact that he and his eldest daughter kiss on the lips. And then when she comes down the stairs in like her New Year's dress, his expression, she's like, this is what I'm wearing for New Year's. And I know the moment technically is supposed to be like, oh boy, I can't believe my daughter's grown up. But the fact that the saxophone cue hits again, it's like, what the fuck is the relationship between these two?
See, the saxophone comes in whenever either character is sad for like the first half of the movie. It's like whenever like Roger Murtaugh's like, oh, my daughter grew up, or when Mel Gibson's thinking about killing himself, the sax comes in. It's wild.
And notice how we don't call it the music. We just call it the instrument it is. Because it's just like all the music there is just there for a second. And it's just like a tiny riff. There's never enough of it. It's a guitar solo or a sax. And the guitar solo, that'll come whenever they please. It doesn't mean anything. Saxophone means sad. Guitar solo means we need some guitar solo right now.
Oh man, I like to think that the music for this was done by the same dude that did the opening riffs for Seinfeld, and he just stayed ready, like had the movie playing, stayed ready, full pantheon of instruments at his disposal, and he's like, you know what? I'm not going to need more than the sax and the guitar.
I think it was Eric Clapton who did the music for this.
Are you shitting me?
Oh yeah, no. Those aren't just riffs at the beginning.
I'm just picturing the whole time Eric Clapton's like on the side, just like with his guitar ready, and then whenever there's like a quiet moment, he just tunes in. You know, it's super cool, man. I love it.
I might be wrong, but I think that movie was nominated for an Oscar for Best Sound.
Yes.
And I think they owe it to Eric Clapton, I guess.
They do, because they don't owe it to the ADR team, because there's a lot of like, you know, Murtaugh's rapping and it's just shots of everybody else, you know, and the audio's different. Right? Like there's some weird audio stuff in this.
Yeah,
there were a couple moments where
was crazy.
A lot of people don't know this. He was on the first XXL freshman class.
Murtaugh is such a vital part of this, though. Like, I think initially, you know, it's called Lethal Weapon. Riggs is the lethal weapon. Part of me is like, why do we even have Roger there? We don't need him. Just send in Riggs to go kill everybody.
Clear, you're talking about the protagonist of the movie right now?
I'm talking about the protagonist of the movie. This is Martin
Riggs. Please continue.
He's there. Well, then Roger Murtaugh is there. Raj is there. But Raj is so functional. I mean, he's not the protagonist. He has kind of an arc, but Riggs is the protagonist, and Roger is essential to Riggs's growth. He's essential because Riggs is all depressed. He's suicidal. Roger pulls him in. He's the family man. They both need each other in a way that I find incredibly endearing and like the template for buddy copdom.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely perfect. They're both really sad guys for very different reasons. I mean, Riggs because he has no family, and
Murtaugh because his family won't get out of the bathroom
because he's got too much of it.
Exactly.
Riggs has been taking baths alone for way too long.
I think they're perfect for each other. This isn't the first buddy cop movie ever, is it?
No, I mean, I think it's the archetype, but you have 48 Hours before this, which is a little bit different tonally. I mean, you've got an old racist man with Eddie Murphy. I'm pretty sure that's before this. I think there's
that really the plot of 48 Hours is that Nick Nolte's
an
racist?
Old racist
Holy
guy
shit.
gets Eddie Murphy out of jail to go stop somebody for 48. They have 48 hours to catch before Eddie Murphy has to go back to jail.
Well, that's not a buddy
that's the
movie,
plot,
is it?
I think people cite that as like another type of buddy cop where like it's two people who don't, it's a rom-com format, right? It's two people who hate each other, who grow to respect each other and work together to accomplish their goal. Like that's the buddy cop is like, I don't know. They're crazy. And Danny Glover just does a great job of bringing Mel in. He's like, you're a loose cannon. You're insane. And once he realizes that he's serious about killing himself, he's like, come over for dinner. I love Raj so much because he's like, come over family. My wife cooks. It's terrible. Like all the kids are here. Then we go sit out on the boat and we drink beers. I'm just like, this guy's living the dream. This is the life I want. The family man.
That revelation they tried to build up to be something, and I don't know how effective it was when Murtaugh was like, "You do want to kill yourself." It sounded like how you say, "Oh, you do have superpowers." Like it was revealed that he wasn't. He was this otherworldly being just because he wanted to kill himself, and I think it worked.
I mean, apparently for a cop, that is a superpower. I wanted to dive into this. So, we've mentioned that they're great foils for each other. And I think part of the reason behind that might be because Riggs and Murtaugh are both terrible cops for completely opposite reasons. Murtaugh is so ready in the scene where they're hanging out on his boat. He is so ready to just drop this case and be like, man, why can't it just be simple? We solved it. We're done. If he had his way, if he was still working solo, the heroin would be flowing like wine, baby. Then Riggs clearly got into being a police officer because he likes not being accountable and the fact that it puts his life in danger. Like he says that he wakes up every morning and the reason that keeps him from killing himself is the job. And yet we see him be so bad at his job. Riggs is good at being violent and hurting people and shooting very accurately. And cop is the only job he could have that would keep him on the good side of a jail cell.
Yeah, he needs to be distracted 24/7 and doesn't care how he gets it.
Yeah, I find it fascinating. I want to know more about him, like how he got into the military in the first place. Like, because his personality is like very weird. He's kind of like all over the place where like, why is he a killer? You know what he is? He reminds me of like an anime protagonist, like Goku or something like that, where they're like goofy and like goofballs and clowns. And then like shit goes down and they're the ones who have to save the earth. Mm-hmm. Right. Like that's kind of the vibe I get from this guy. So he's like a buffoon and he's a moron. And then all of a sudden it's time to like get your daughter back. And like, trust me, I'm going to snipe 800 people in this scene or whatever it is. Yeah, I don't know. I find it fascinating.
I think he was supposed to be a normal guy until his wife died. And then he kind of lost it. He might have been great in the military, but I don't think he was a psycho until his wife died.
Yeah, if his wife just knowingly married this version of Riggs, like what the fuck was she like?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way before she died, when a guy had a gun to his head, he was trying to put the gun into his mouth and say, "Shoot me."
But the Riggs, but the Riggs we see at the end of the movie, she knew that guy. I bet.
You mean the
Yeah,
one
yeah.
that was barking like an animal while fighting someone shirtless on his
Yeah.
partner's front lawn?
Yeah, the one he's like beating the shit out of that guy in the front lawn. I bet she's watching that from heaven and being like, "Oh, there's my boy. Go get him, Tiger." Also, you brought it up. That fight scene is so unnecessary. It does not make any sense. Roger is just like, "I got this, guys," and all the cops circle up and watch him fight. And I love it so much. It makes me so happy, and it's so fucking stupid.
There is a terrorist on the front lawn, and all the cops pull up like it's a tailgate and just watch it. It doesn't make any sense. And like the movie's over. There's no more stakes at that point because he's surrounded by cops. And it's not a movie about like fighting for honor or anything like that. So it just comes out of nowhere. He's just like, nah, I got to fight this guy with my hands. And they just fight in the mud for a while when we know there's no stakes. And you know what? If they play that like almost comedically, like I just got to do it. And they just beats his ass for a while. I love it. But they've still got the sax jamming at that point. They're still trying to make us feel something. The guitar solos are wailing.
So I'm really glad that I don't think I'm the only one that scene like took completely off guard. Are we meant to believe that the reason that Riggs needs to like fist fight this guy in the front lawn is because they're both Army Special Forces and the other dude has like dishonored the Special Forces with his actions?
I think that, and the fact that guy killed cops. So this is all behavior that's very entertaining in a movie, but in real life would be absolutely mortifying. If they're just like, they're kind of like, we're taking the law into our own hands. Before we arrest this guy, I'm going to beat the shit out of him because he killed two of our own guys.
I don't think that's like U.S. policy or on like how they handle war criminals. Like there was no way one of SEAL Team 6 was like, we got to fist fight Osama for a half hour before we can dump him in this ocean.
Dude, a bunch of Taliban circled up. They're on Osama's like lawn. I also want to know this because you mentioned the stakes. What does Gary Busey want? Because we saw this man, he is so dedicated to this weird, complicated heroin trafficking ring that he is willing to let his arm get burnt with a lighter. What does he want that he's still fighting for after the entire operation's over at the end?
So I guess at the end there, he's just looking for revenge. He knows he's screwed. He's supposed to go back to the house to kill Murtaugh's family. Fine, I can buy that. Before that, when he's burning his arm, I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Also, that scene looks so cool until he starts burning his arm. Like he turns that guy around and that guy's kind of holding his own lighter, but somebody else is doing it for him. And he's like breaking his arm while the lighter's lit. And then Gary's just like, burn my arm. And the flame is barely touching his arm. It's just, it could have been really cool. It could have been really cool.
I'd argue it was really cool.
Maybe.
While a band is being yelled at for being terrible in the background.
Can we?
That final scene real quick while we're still on this one. It is, I took note in my brain that, like I mentioned, how macho this movie is. There's so many moments where it's like, Danny Glover has been shot and blown up and he's limping away and somebody's like, hey, we got to check you out. And he's like, I'm fine. Like he's too macho to have anyone look after him. He's a real man. Everybody's acting all like masculine toward each other like that. And then after that fight scene, when Mel Gibson is shirtless and drenched in sweat and rain, Danny Glover just like brings him over under a shock blanket and embraces him. And it's like, it does feel like the only time that men in that world would be allowed to embrace and like show affection toward each other is after one of them fucking killed someone else in a one-on-one fight.
I disagree with this take so hard. It's very funny, but if we're being serious about this very serious movie, I think he's you're saying these are like because he's too big of a man. I think part of it is like he doesn't want to leave his partner. His boy is fighting on the driveway, and someone's like, "Hey man, you want to come back to the ambulance so I can look at your arm or whatever?" He's like, "Fuck no, my boy is fucking this guy up. I need to be here to support him." You know, if anything, it's about men supporting men, which, you know, we all know we need more of that nowadays.
I think Kevin said exactly what you just said, Tim.
No, he said that the only way that it's acceptable for them to show love for each other is for him to kill somebody. But I think he's staying there because of love, as opposed to like, I'm too big of a man. You know, he's got to see how this turns out. It's not I'm too big of a man for medical attention at all. He's going to get medical attention. But in this moment, he's got to support his guy. What you're seeing as toxic masculinity, I'm seeing is like a Coca-Cola commercial, right? Like, we'd all be better off if we all shared a Coke and watched our friends fight in a lawn, you know?
Yeah, I think there's room for both of you guys to be right.
I don't think there is. In the rules that Lethal Weapon established, one of us is right, one of us is wrong. Breen, what were you going to say? What was your take?
Oh, what was I going to say? Oh, it was kind of, I don't have a strong take about what embracing means at the end of that scene. But I was going to talk about how Shane Black made this movie almost 30 years later, and it's called The Nice Guys. It's the same movie. He just remade it. It's the exact same movie.
I don't want to see it. It looks
bad. The Nice Guys?
No, The Nice Guys is so good, dude.
It's top 3 all time for me. And I'm telling you, it's the same movie. Yeah.
That's crazy. Really Lethal Weapon's like number 2.
But yeah, without ruining too much, we got a guy who's lost his wife who teams up with another guy with the family to find how a young girl died. And I won't say too much here, but
it sounds like Lethal Weapon so far.
Movie. Yeah. And then it turns out that the father or mother of the prostitute character is a position in a very high position in the government. It's the same movie.
Yeah.
But way better.
You sold me.
But way better.
Fuck you. Let's all go around and say our favorite part of this movie. I know there's no beefs. No one's got any beefs this time, but now should we do some beefs and thieves?
Yeah, let's do.
Yeah.
Who's got beefs? Kevin, you got one. Your okay.
Breen, take it.
It's very specific, but I really hated the line, "Where did you get this guy? Psychos are us."
The lines in it are bad. They're not great. There's some good ones. There's some bad ones, but there's some, even watching like Die Hard, some of these 80s movies have like, I don't know. There's so many bad lines in Die Hard too. And like every 80s action movie, there's some lines where I'm like, damn, that's so good. Like, what makes a good line versus a bad line when you're talking about cheesy 80s action movie lines?
I mean, Psychos Are Us, like, it doesn't rhyme with Toys R Us. It was overused probably already in 1987. It's bad for too many reasons to count. But what makes a good line? I mean, you could take a whole class on that.
Terrible question on my part. Kevin, you got a beef?
I'm looking up when Toys R Us opened. I want to know how topical that was. You know, it's frustrating. I don't know that I can really pinpoint a beef. If anything, I think it would probably be that the scene where Murtaugh finds out that he's partnered up with Riggs. He sees him in the office and he sees him pull out his gun and he freaks out because he thinks he's just like a random. I think he's supposed to think that he's a criminal that was booked and brought into the office, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Riggs, for as insane as we get to see him look later in the movie, I don't think he looked insane enough in that moment for Murtaugh to jump to that conclusion. He looked like relatively normal. Like maybe he was delivering a pizza or something, when really he should have looked like a fucking piece of street trash if that was like the interpretation he was going to have. I spent
a very interesting idea of what a criminal is.
Huh.
Wow.
Interesting, Kevin.
This might not be a half hour, guys. We got to unpack this.
What else about his physical appearance would indicate that he's a criminal, Kevin?
Not gonna take the bait.
This is my new segment on the show, which is when I try and turn something Kevin said against him into tainting Kevin into a corner.
Really frequently. This is like the fourth or fifth one in a row.
Once an episode now. You're right. It is a little suspect.
He's wearing like a button down.
Yeah, he's got like a nice flannel on. He's chill. I think Riggs is doing just like, it's such a good depiction of depression in my mind. I think it's so crazy that he goes from like suicidal, put this gun in my mouth 1 second, to eating a hot dog on the hood of a car and trying to convince Roger that he should drive. Like, I don't know, something about that to me is so funny and just so sad, or like entertaining.
Real quick, while we're on Mel too, obviously this wouldn't have worked with troubles that Mel Gibson had later on. But that notwithstanding, just based on his performance in this movie, when did you guys know that Mel Gibson would make a great Wolverine?
Oh my God. He would be a great Wolverine.
Great question.
I think he's short too.
And you know what? I think it happens really early in that cocaine transaction scene, because he's really jumping around all over the place. He looks like a tiny little guy, just like an actual Wolverine. He's feisty.
He's crazy. He shoots his gun and rolls on the ground. Incredible.
A lot. Yeah. That's a great question. He should have been Wolverine.
He'd be a great Wolverine. Thieves. Who's got Thieves?
And Thieves Are Something That Stole My Heart, or the show?
Either one.
Yeah, either or.
I mean, I already said it, but that first our introduction to Riggs, that whole cocaine transaction scene is so good. Like, if you want to meet a character and be like, this is who he is, he's really fucked up. That's how you do it. I loved when the guy had the gun to his head and he kept screaming for him to shoot him. And again, he reaches around in one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen and tries to put the gun into his mouth while it's to his head. I was like, that's when I was on board, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be good. This is going to be a good time just because of this guy.
Oh my God. So fucking good. I love like, one of the purposes that the Riggs character serves is to get rid of any, like, I don't know, subtle reveals down the road and just get straight to it on the behalf of the audience. Like, there's the scene where the murdered girl's dad is saying, like, you owe me to Murtaugh. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, we're probably going to find out what that means later. And we immediately cut to Riggs going, hey, so when that guy said you owe him, what do you mean? And it's like, he's a plot device just to get to exactly what the audience is thinking.
Yeah, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to let you know right away. But that makes sense though, because it's his character. I mean, that scene where he handcuffs himself to that guy on the roof is also amazing. I could have done 100 more scenes like that. If I have any complaint, it's that he kind of loses his crazy as the movie goes on, which I guess he's supposed to, but it's way more fun to watch him at his craziest than when he's getting it together, like in real life, like how we felt about Britney Spears.
Exactly.
Hashtag free Britney.
Hashtag free Britney.
Hashtag she's been freed. I love the scene with Riggs, like the torture scenes at the end. I just always thought that was the coolest shit ever. I mean, that's the most iconic part of like the movie, where he's getting like shocked in the shower and then he ends up choking the guy out, and then he runs in and he just like starts shooting people, and he like runs through the door and like throws somebody at somebody, and it's just like, oh my God, he is a lethal weapon. I'm just like, this is awesome. He's doing the thing, which is what I was waiting for the whole time. Like, oh, he's doing the thing he said he would, And then, oh man, him just chasing guys down on foot. I'm just like, dude, you could totally get a car, but no, he's taking off on foot. Something about a loose cannon on foot just does it for me, you know, shirtless, gun over his shoulder. I'm like, this is the man. This is the guy, just holding a rifle upright, just like running like in perfect, like like a robot, just like straight down the street in the dark. Incredible.
It was great. There was one thing I was a little disappointed with, now that you mention it, Tim, was when they think Riggs is dead, that's supposed to be like some kind of big advantage they have. And then he's just used as a sniper. And it's never established that he's like the best sniper in the world. Like,
it is.
I wish there was a more creative way.
There's a line in there that's like he takes some shot from 1,000 yards. Only 1 of 8 people. Only 8 people could have taken that shot.
Where are those 7 other guys? Call them.
And he does it when he's 19. Well, one of them's this other guy. One of them's the guy. One of them's Gary Busey.
We barely talked about. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, how good is Gary Busey in this?
I think he's good. I always forget that he was an actor before he was a crazy person.
Right. Before he pretended to be crazy, and then he started living the gimmick, so to speak.
Gary Busey kind of became Riggs as his life went on.
He did the reverse Riggs. He went from normal to Lethal Weapon. So I got to ask, there are like 3 other Lethal Weapon movies, right? I've seen none of the others. How many of them are good, first? And second, is Riggs crazy again? What do they do after they show this much growth in the character?
I'd argue that I think the second one is generally considered the best one. And then the third one, in my mind, I don't think I've ever just watched the second or third one. I think I just always end up watching like the next 3, like all back to back. So in my mind, they kind of blur together. But like 2 and 3 are like pretty awesome. And the third is like kind of like the end. And then the fourth one is like, you know, let's do one more fan service. Like, let's have a good time. The 2 of them are like fighting Jet Li for some reason. It's just awesome. It's just like,
holy shit.
It's really cool. I mean, I think Mel loses the suicidalness of it and just is like some goofball who just suddenly starts murdering people. Like, that's kind of the vibe going forward. And he is crazy. I think he gets goofy. He gets weird. I think like the handcuffing himself to the jumper like mentality kind of stays, and we lose some of the, put the gun in my mouth. Pulled the trigger. Stab me in the stomach. I love it, you know, which I think is good for the best, I would say. I cannot recommend at least one more movie, guys. Watch Lethal Weapon 2. Check it out. See what you think. I'm telling you, you'll be hooked after that.
I'll make a deal with you, Tim. I will do that if you watch Lethal Weapon remake, also known as The Nice Guys, because you are going to love it.
Deal. I'm there. You watch the second one, I'll watch The Nice Guys. I'll watch it now.
And to all you Nerdy for 30 heads, we will be back first week of January to discuss those 2 movies in a super mega episode. I'm making the announcement now.
I will totally. Can we do a Lethal Weapon 2 / Nice Guys podcast? Let's do it where we compare our findings. I think that's beautiful and a great idea.
Oh, God bless us, everyone. Everybody out there, thank you so much for listening. This has been the final Nerdy 430 of our first season. Thank you for listening to any of them that you listened to this year, even if it's just this one. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. Hope you have the happiest of holidays and a great start to next year.
Stay nerdy, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, also, wait, Breen, do you have anything you want to plug?
No.
Okay. Bye.